Alright, here we go. Mass Effect 3. The last part of the last mission. And let me tell you, this is going to be a fun next hour for anyone that's actually planning on beating this on Insanity, if you haven't already. I assume most people that have beaten on Insanity are going to be getting done, but, yep. Anyhow. So, once we come through here, Kaidan and Garrus are going to kind of stick back, so the Geth are going to have to choose which ones they want to actually fight. But, no matter. Just wait for these guys to get up, shotgun, and continue moving on. So, basically what's going to happen is they're just going to keep throwing boss-esque monsters, Geth, at you. They're going to be throwing banshees, harvesters, lots of brutes. Like, so many brutes. It's not even funny how many they throw at you. And of course, the tank that we were going along with dies in about 5 seconds. Pretty indicative of what's going to be happening to all the other Alliance troops, or I guess whatever you want to call them. Troops. At this point, they're just troops. Everyone's the Alliance. So yeah, a lot of main troops. Again, I don't have a lot of good way of dealing with shields, so you're gonna just see me firing incendiary rounds into shields. But whenever Kaidan's got his overcharge up, you can just melt Marauders because they don't have a lot of health. Cannibals have a lot of health, but incendiary rounds are pretty darn good against them. So as long as they aren't shooting at me the instant that I look at them, then they're pretty much dead. And here's another tank. Guess what happens to it? It gets exploded. And don't even bother looking at that harvester. That harvester will fly away after the tank is killed. Luckily, there's some harvesters later on that won't fly away. Actually, just one of them, but those things are hard to kill anyway. So, go ahead and take out all the Marauder shields. And there's also a cannibal. And we're just waiting for the Banshee to show up. You can't skip this. Like, you can't just keep running forward because there's a door that won't open until everything's killed. So you gotta fight the Banshee, unfortunately. And almost died. I think the Harvester's still here. Nope, he flew away. Oh no, that was the Banshee that hit me. So now the Banshee showed up. And I'm just going to take out all the foot soldiers right now because when you're fighting a Banshee, you don't want anything else to distract you. And I was just making sure everything... Oh, nope, more troops. And so... Again, cleanup work. Fortunately, Garrus went down. Garrus always seemed to go down. Like, it was always... When one of my squadsmate died, it was Garrus. So I don't know what his deal is. Maybe he's weaker. Although... I just have to say something about Garrus. Garrus is... of all the characters in Mass Effect, I found Garrus was probably my favorite. Just of everything. I mean, he's just kind of loyal guy. Doesn't really backtalk a lot. He's pretty darn cool. Vigilante. All that good shit. So, yeah, I just want to kind of say that. He's a cool guy. Doesn't afraid of much. So, go ahead and take out the Banshee. Shotguns are very effective against them.
We'll try to clear the building.
And now the door will open. Magical door detecting life powers. So there's going to be a bunch of husks. Nothing that our SMG with incendiary rounds cannot handle. And, of course, there's a brute. There'll be lots of brutes in this video. And next. So, I'll count out the brutes just now. So, we're going to fight 2 of them. A nice little warm-up for the impending horde that we are going to be fighting. So I mean, they'll focus on a lot of different things. They'll focus on They focused on, I don't know, they were just kind of punching the ground, I guess. Caden's over there. So I switched to my armor-piercing ammo, and yeah, they're just kind of went after Garrus. Poor Garrus. He's dying a lot. And these guys, I mean, you just have to have something in between you and them. So, and as far as these husks go, I would try and avoid them. If there's just one or two, then I would leave them alive, because what I'm using them for is a biotic charge free health distributor. So if I ever need barrier or shield or whatever it is, then I'll just biotic charge to them. So I leave them up for that. And go ahead and shoot down the brutes. They're really not too big of a threat, because they got no range. So pretty easy to deal with. So, continue on heading up, and geez, this is a long commentary. And I got one more video after this, so just gonna truck on through. I mean, it's only taken me, what, about 3 months to finish this? But, yeah, Ravagers are really weak against close-range shotgun shots. So, I mean, it took 2 shots and the third one to finish it. So, they really don't got much health. And I wasn't even on armor-piercing rounds. So, at this point, most of the things that are left just have pure health. So, we'll walk in with the shotgun O'Doom and finish everything off. And apparently I'm a veteran. I don't even know what that means. Or I'm halfway to being a veteran. Maybe it's kills. I think it's kills. And some blah blah blah. And go ahead and take any meds. I would just recommend constantly being at full HP, because this mission is hard. Well, this whole last battle is not easy. And of course that. Husks. There's actually very few husks on this mission. It's all cannibals and marauders that make up the majority, especially marauders. So, continue moving on. And coming up here, we are going to be fighting a bunch more marauders at range. And don't get up close with these guys, because the way this works is there are invisible invisible lines, where once you pass that point, more enemies will spawn. Once we move up to a certain point here, more marauders will spawn, and then after that, a Ravager will spawn with more marauders. And then once we pass that point, a Brute will spawn with husks. So, and also, I think this gets triggered if you kill the marauders in this area, but there's no infinite amount of enemies. So, staying back is, whoops, the #1 recommended tactic. Luckily, this SMG is so good. It's just so good. And basically, I just use Caden and Garrus to take down shields. And it works out pretty well. Make sure that your squad mates are not advancing past you, though, because they can also trip the increased spawn. As you say, I accidentally pinged right there. So Garrus does the smart thing and moves up really far. And I think that he does trigger the next wave of them. But Caden and Garrus have a lot of firepower. But enough of that. Ravager will spawn now, and I will smash the ground in anger. Not totally caused by the fact that Nova Strike and Armor Piercing rounds are at the 4 and 5 keys, which I'm not completely remembering them. I mean, I'm a good typist. Press click buttons with index fingers, but the number keys, man, I can only remember about 1 through 3 as far as muscle memory goes. But anyhow, I just keep using Caden and Garrus's biotic powers on the Ravager. And I think I switched to armor piercing right there. And just get free shots on it. You want to watch out because those guys can kill you very quickly if you're not being careful about your shields. So just wait for everything to recharge. This is practice for the upcoming harvester that we have to kill in the next part. So practice your ducking and shooting in between rounds fired. But yep, just take out the rest of the enemies here, and there's a brute. So basically, oop, bad camera. We are going to sit behind this piece of cover, use all of Garrus's abilities, and Caden actually died this time. But just keep shooting the brute. Don't get on top. And Nova Strike. Yeah, and at this point I'm just like using Medgel to revive my squad mates. Because you don't want to really mess around. Ah! Husk. So, yeah, if both of your squad mates go down, I would just go ahead and use Medgel. Because there is... You don't want to replay these sections. This stuff is... It's not exactly the hardest stuff. But, it's not fun to redo. So now we're basically going to be getting into little close quarter engagements with the cannibals and the marauders, which I have to say is rather easy because the only thing that the marauders and the cannibals have that's to their advantage is the fact that my range is terrible on this guy. If I was playing... I would dare say that if I was playing a sentinel or I was playing an infiltrator, these sections would not be that difficult, simply because my range is just garbage. And my ability to destroy shields is actually even worse, but I mean, if I have a shotgun at point blank, then what armor type you have doesn't really matter too much, because this shotgun just does so much damage. Even at range, even at intermediate range, which... I mean, it is a shotgun, and shotguns do have intermediate range, but anyhow, not in games. Which, you know, if you're planning on playing this on a harder difficulty, don't choose something that is against your playstyle, such as a Vanguard, if you like playing at long ranges, such as me. Although I did play Vanguard in Mass Effect 2, but I played that on the easier difficulty, and yeah. I found it hard even then, so I don't know how I managed to do this on Insanity. So, gonna keep on moving forward. And this whole time, the fleet's basically telling how they're getting their asses kicked. And we don't really get to hear about what's going on up in the orbit of the Earth. But my assumption is they're getting creamed. Although, one can never really know. Anyhow, gonna keep on taking out cannibals. Should be pretty easy with the incendiary ammunition. And right here, the marauders in this building really have a bad tactical position because there's little to no cover. And luckily, Caden and Garrus just took like the best spot. You're gonna see Garrus start shooting here in a second from the other. Yep, there he goes. He's gonna be shooting them from both sides of the cover. So, unfortunately, Caden doesn't do jack shit. He just kind of sits on the other side of the wall, real coward mode. But yeah. It's like fish in a barrel. Once everything's mopped up, we're gonna have even more enemies. Lovely, yeah. And I could never really get Caden to... I could never really understand how to do the... I mean, I understand how to press shift and do all that stuff, but I can never figure out how to change the selected ability of a squad mate. It always seemed like they just changed them based on whatever they felt was best in this situation, but if I ever pressed shift and selected something, it never seemed to change it, and I didn't really feel like messing around with it, because, I mean, it wouldn't have made too much of a difference. It was just things like, well, you're using, I think he's using Reeve right now. I wanted him to use, like, Overcharge. But anyhow, coming up here, we're going to be shooting a lot of these guys are going to be coming out of the subway area down there, or whatever you want to call it. And there's a med station, so if you are low on meds, grab some. Although you might want to wait, because we're going to be facing a few brutes right here. And here comes one right now. So, just switch to my armor piercing. And it's this one's pretty easy to deal with. He kind of like he got stun locked or something, or he kept pounding his chest. I don't really get it, but he didn't really do a lot. So, yep. Make sure you grab some ammo, because a few more are about to come crashing in. Literally. I also came to check, like, where did these guys come from? Wanted to see if it was kind of like Call of Duty 4, where there's a bunch of enemies that spawn through a closed door. I always found that funny. Anyhow, keep on moving up. And surprise! So, time to run. Literally. And I absolutely love the sort of cover, the cover jump that Shepard just did right there. That always felt so fluid. So, it always looked like he was sliding like power slides. Yeah. So, Gaiden and Garrus are just kind of... Gaiden and Garrus are just going to be kind of shooting as they back up. So they did a nice amount of damage. Also, the brutes don't seem to take them down very quickly. So... you get a pretty easy job taking these, and also the brutes will usually target them and not you, so that's really nice when that happens. So, take those guys out. That's the end of this video. We got one more, guys. I'll see you then.